Hi, this is Al DiTullio coming to you live from Watertown's beautiful palatial theater. Welcome to Watch This. You can get reviews for first-run movies anywhere, but who can afford $10 these days, $20 with popcorn and a drink? Certainly not me. That's why all the movies you see here are available at video clubs. So sit back, microwave some popcorn, and grab your favorite drink as we get ready to take you to the movies. Part review, part tribute. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you The French Chef with Julia Child.
Here is a head of lettuce before, and here is a head of lettuce after I've gotten through torturing it. Stick around and see what we do to lettuce and other vegetables today on The French Chef.
Maybe you knew that Julia Child was the best-selling author of The Art of French Cooking and the popular host of a string of cooking shows. Maybe you even knew that she was officially a spy, having served in the OSS, the forerunner of today's CIA. But were you aware that Julia Child is a virtual goddess to the slackers of the world? Yes, this one is for us slackers out there.
Yes, slackers.
We are the dropouts and the underachievers.
The people still living at home or cooped up in some basement hovel.
Everyone who's gone from one dead-end job after another.
Still trying to find yourself past 30.
Past 40.
We're the slackers. And to us, Julia Child is a virtual goddess, granting us hope.
How?
To say she was a late bloomer is the understatement of the century.
For starters, she didn't get married until the age of 34. And if that doesn't sound a little late for a first marriage, keep in mind that the average age for women today is just over 25. And back in 1946, when Julia Child was getting married, the average age was down around 20.
I'm Julia Child. Bon appetit!
And as hard as it is to believe, Julia Child, the woman who came to symbolize fine cuisine in America, didn't learn to cook until the age of 36.
Now, in case you need me to repeat that, Julia Child, star of numerous popular cooking shows and best-selling author of a French cookbook, took her first cooking lesson at the age of 36.
No, she was not raised in the kitchen or brought up on French cuisine.
In fact, she wasn't even introduced to fine dining until just a few years earlier, after she met Paul Child, the man who would become her devoted husband.
This is Julia Child saying bon appetit.
Back in 1914, the year Julia Child was born, life expectancy at birth was under 58 years. And yet she was starting a new career as a writer at the age of 49, and then another new career as a television star at 51.
I think my fondest memory of The French Chef with Julia Child had to be her circa 1960s push-button electric range. God, I'm glad I don't have to cook with that.
Speaking of firsts, when Julia Child was taping her first 3 pilot episodes in 1962, there were no national cooking shows on TV. Isn't that hard to believe? Today, when there's an entire cooking channel on cable, plus a slew of other cooking shows to choose from,
This is Julia Child. Bon appetit!
When her 6-foot 2-inch frame and distinctive voice finally made it on the air in 1963, her show became public television's first national hit, and by 1966, it earned public television's first ever Emmy Award. That same year, her show earned a Peabody Award, perhaps the single most prestigious honor in American television.
The chicken episode.
The chicken episode.
The chicken episode.
You know, I think back to some of the episodes, and my absolute favorite one has got to be from the chicken episode.
Julia Julia Child presents the Chicken Sisters. Miss Broiler, Miss Fryer, Miss Roaster, Miss Caponette, Miss Stewer, and old Madam Hen. But we're spotlighting Miss Roaster of the Year, measuring in at 14, 15, 14. We're roasting Miss Chicken today on The French Chef.
You can kind of catch her dancing a little bit during the open credits, and she was very happy through the whole episode.
It looks to me like somebody got into the cooking sherry.
Oh, this is Julia Child speaking. Bon appetit!
The French Chef was also the first show in America to be closed captioned for the hearing impaired.
Closer to home, it was Julia Child who gave most of America its first glimpse at such exotic kitchenwares, like the nonstick skillet.
I'm going to use one of these patent no-stick pans. I like them very much because nothing sticks on them, just as they say, and I use it like an ordinary pan.
And a salad spinner she had personally imported for herself from Europe.
This Swiss model, which has a basket and a ratchet attachment, and it has a string, and you put your lettuce in it, and then you pull the string, and it goes back and forth. You see it's going one way, and then it goes the other way. And the great thing about this is that all the water stays inside here, and these are made by little old Swiss ladies in tennis shoes. And if you want to find it, you just have to go to Switzerland and look for those little old ladies.
Sadly, they weren't all successful. Though introduced on her show just like the salad spinner, the duck press never caught on with American audiences.
And about the show itself, The French Chef, it's easy to see why it was such a great success. This woman, Julia Child, genuinely entertained, even as she demystified some of the most pretentious food in the world.
Where today's cooking shows are all about establishing the authority of the host, their expertise, Julia Child spent her time telling audiences that they didn't have to be experts and that they were going to make mistakes, and that was okay.
And for Julia Child, things rarely worked out. If she didn't burn it, spill it, or get it to stick to the pan, it constituted something of a minor miracle.
When you flip anything, you just have to have the courage of your convictions, particularly if it's sort of a loose mass like this. Well, that didn't go very well.
Never apologize, she told her audience. Never, ever apologize.
You can catch The French Chef with Julia Child on DVD.
That's all for today on The French Chef. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.
Would you like to join the cast or crew of Watch This? Come on, you know you want to. Email us at watchthis@email.com. That's watchthis@email.com. We hope to hear from you soon.
Bon appetit.
We're back. Here's Paul Ablin reviewing a cult favorite, Andy Richter Controls the Universe.
Irreverent is a word that gets used quite a lot to describe comedy. Everything from people to movies benefit from their irreverent style or humor, or so we're told. Googling irreverent and movie returned over 700,000 hits alone. But what does irreverent mean? And George Carlin was often described as irreverent. He was best known for his observational humor, noting the fact that mice seem to lack shoulders, for example, or how we call buildings buildings instead of builds, even though we're done building them. So does irreverent mean observational? No, not a chance. Irreverent means something like Cynical, disrespectful, lacking in due reverence. Slaughtering the sacred cows is another way you could put it. Now, it's right about here where I should start describing Andy Richter Controls the Universe as irreverent, but I'm not. I mean, why tell you when I can show you?
Let me say to both of you that at Pickering Industries, we take allegations of racism very seriously. Any bigoted remark, and I mean any, will simply not be tolerated.
It wasn't about African Americans. It was about the Irish.
Oh, then what's the problem?
Bravo, my mediocre friend. There's nothing quite so gratifying as taking sexual advantage of the mentally ill.
Well, what happened to Wendy's woman?
Apparently she flew back to visit Saudi Arabia and was stoned to death for having luggage with wheels.
Okay, that country has way too many rocks lying around.
I only discovered Andy Richter Controls the Universe by accident. I was channel surfing one evening and came across it. Now, the show was already in its second season by then, at its peak, and I became an instant fan. And the cast was absolutely top-notch. It was led by Andy Richter, in the sense that he narrated the action and got the most camera time, but he never got in the way of the top-notch supporting cast. There was Paget Brewster, now on Criminal Minds, as his perky boss, James Patrick Stewart as the overly handsome coworker that has everything handed to him, and Jonathan Slavin as the quirky Byron, Andy's office mate. So the inevitable question is, if Andy Richter Controls the Universe was so irreverent, and irreverent is supposed to be so good, well, why was the show canceled? Good question. Now, there's no good answer, though. Great shows get canceled for any number of reasons, and in the case of Andy Richter Controls the Universe, that was probably a really poor start that killed it. Well, the show was great, don't get me wrong, but the pilot, well, let's be honest here, it stunk, and it took a while for the show to recover from it. It wasn't until the fourth episode, ironically titled Episode 2, until it finally hit its stride, by which time they had already scared away a sizable audience. Now, if I had caught the show from the beginning, instead of stumbling on it in its second season, I doubt that I'd be a fan today. I'd probably be one of those other people who said, ugh, this sucks, and never gave it a second look. But however bad the show's start was, it certainly had a strong ending, producing some of the funniest episodes any sitcom ever had. Just in time to be canceled.
Your kindness probably just startled them into inactivity. They'll be back. And when it gets out of hand, threaten them with drowning. That's the death they fear the most.
In my day, we had names for a woman like Jessica: Trollop, Harlot, Whore, Mummy.
Your friends are garbage.
What?
They're garbage! Pure garbage!
Well, if they're garbage, then I am a fly who chooses to surround myself with filth. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to gorge myself on feces.
Now, if Andy Richter Controls the Universe was airing today, 6 years later, it would still be cutting edge. And the great news is that it's available on DVD. Oh, and as a bonus, the DVDs of the show include the lost episodes. 5 episodes which never aired. So even if you caught all of them before the show was canceled, well, you still have a reason to go out and rent this. Andy Richter Controls the Universe. Get it today.
Just so you know, because this place is so full of white guys, they're probably going to hire... I'm not sure the most politically correct way to say this.
Another white guy? We understand.
No, the opposite. A person of color.
Damn. I know. Bino who would have been perfect.
We'll be back after this.
Good morning, Mrs. Harris. Hi, Amy. Hello, Mrs. Harris. Hello, Rebecca. Good morning, Mrs. Harris. Hi, Mrs. Harris. Hi, all you kids. Mrs. Harris has a hard job. She has to drive this big bus, and she has to look out for us, too. I hope I can be a good driver like Mrs. Harris someday.
like to join the cast or crew of Watch This? Email us at watchthis@email.com. That's watchthis@email.com. We hope to hear from you soon. Adding a little class, here's Kira Barnum with her review of the Milky Way.
I guess you can say that I like old movies, having seen Harold Lloyd's 1936 classic The Milky Way at least 4 times. Let me tell you a little about Harold Lloyd first. He is, after all, a bit of a forgotten legend, so the younger folks, at least, may not have heard of him. Harold Lloyd was the third and most prolific of the great silent trio, the 3 biggest comedy legends of Hollywood's silent era. Just add Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin to round out your trio. Besides making more movies than either Keaton or Chaplin, Harold Lloyd was the only one of the 3 to be immortalized within the cement in front of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. In today's feature, The Milky Way, Lloyd stars as a naive, much-abused milkman by the name of Burley Sullivan. The ironically named Burley has to bribe his own horse in order to get her to work. Yet suddenly, he finds himself dragged into the world of professional boxing due to an unlikely accident, a misunderstanding, and a paranoid boxing manager.
The fight anymore? It's all over. All over? Maybe I can get the fighting milkman to say a few words, and here he is now. Tell him about it, Bernie.
Hello, folks. You know, I'm just as surprised as you are, because I could swear that I missed him.
Besides Lloyd, another of the film's standouts is actress Vere Teasdale, who plays the manager's girlfriend. They were married in real life. She has put down lines, the likes of which even the tough actresses of the 1930s, such as Carole Lombard or Kay Francis, might have killed for.
It was like this. Spider and I were walking down the street, and up comes a guy.
What a guy?
Right. Gabby, he was the biggest guy I ever saw.
Bigger? Boss, he was bigger than Canary.
Yeah, with hands as big as watermelons.
How did he wind his watch?
The Milky Way is one of those simple black and white comedies that are not only guaranteed family-friendly, but may even be good enough to hold the interest of a jaded 8-year-old or discerning couch potato. Take an early scene where Burley goes up to the boxer's room to explain just how he supposedly knocked him out the previous night. Although the scene is a little long by today's standards, about 6 minutes, not a word or second is wasted. It's all done in real time. That is, he has to explain things before the press corps make it up the stairs from the hotel lobby. And the whole scene is loaded with physical gags and fast-paced jokes. In one instance, Burley's telling the manager's girlfriend how, when he was little, he took his mother and sister to a movie.
Now listen, Sully. You were a puny little boy, and you took your mother and sister to a picture show. Now do you remember?
Oh, yes. I even remember the picture. Do you remember the one where the man locked the girl in his cabin, and he chased her round and round?
Oh, that one? Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How did it end? My mother took me home.
And then you know things are just going to get sillier and faster. What's also interesting is that the comedic exaggeration is kept to a minimum, so you don't have to suspend your disbelief too often. I could explain further, but I don't want to give away too much. It's not spoiling it to say that even though he never quite stops being a milquetoast milkman, this could be a good movie for teaching kids that you don't have to fight to be popular, you don't even have to be able to fight, and sometimes you shouldn't fight even if you know that you'll win. And if your kids are amazingly cynical, don't worry, they'll still find many reasons to laugh. Trivia note, reportedly, the idea for Superman's disguising himself with a pair of glasses came from Lloyd, who said that no one ever recognized him in public without his trademark glasses.
Yeah, but you don't know what it means to lose your reputation, walk down the street and have the whole town talking about you.
No? Well, 12 years ago in my hometown, I went on a hayride.
What's that got to do with it?
Nothing. Except they're still talking about it.
Speak. Hello. Talk about how you're going to get a haircut.
I'm going to get a haircut. I'm going to get them all cut, not just one hair. I'm going to get them all cut.
original indicated